Hi everyone, welcome back to Beautiful British English, where we bring you bite-sized English fluency lessons. And today is all about listening, how to be a better listener. Right, so today's lesson is all about how you can become a better listener. Okay, now it's okay to admit that you do not understand sometimes. Yeah. So the first things I want to point out to you is that you should not be afraid. So don't be afraid to ask questions if you do not understand something. And also don't pretend that you do understand. Yeah. If you want to be a good listener, you have to create for yourself a strategy to deal with situations where you do not understand. Okay? And that is what we are going to talk about today. We're going to create a strategy that allows us to become a better listener. So let's get started with our strategy. Step number one of our strategy. So step number one, let me move back over here. Step number one is communicate that you don't understand. So if there's something that you're not sure about, you have to communicate that you do not understand. Now, before we look at the vocabulary suggestions here, I want to ask you guys to consider a situation in your native language. Wherever you're from, China, Russia, Spain, Germany, France, Italy, whichever country you come from, if you don't understand something that somebody says to you in your own language, what do you do? How do you react? Do you pretend that you understand? Or are you afraid to ask questions and that admit that you don't understand something? I'm going to probably suggest to you guys that in your own native language, when you don't understand something, the first thing that you do, step one, is you communicate that you don't understand. Yeah, in your own language. Now, in English, there are more obstacles because there's language issues as well. But the same rules apply, I think. Yeah. So step one is communicate that you don't understand. And we can do that with some very, very easy and simple phrases that you can learn. Very, very natural ways to communicate that you do not fully understand something. So, for example, first one, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. So we're using a very interesting verb, catch. The verb to catch, there you go, I caught my pen. But we also use this verb catch to express a lack of understanding. Or if I said to you, did you catch that? That's to express your understanding. So this verb is also used to express our understanding. I'm sorry I didn't catch that. Okay. The second phrase, I'm not sure I fully understand. You might say, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I fully understand. Or you might just say, I'm not sure I fully understand. Okay. So this is step one in our strategy of becoming a better listener. Step number one is communicate. Let the people or person that is speaking, let them know that you do not understand. That's step one. Let's take a look at step two in our strategy. So now we have step two in our strategy to become a better listener. If you remember, step one was to communicate that we do not understand something. Okay? And step two is to ask a question of the person speaking to ask them to clarify some information. So we can do that with some very, very simple and easy questions. Could you please is how we would start our question, and then we have to decide what is the best way for us to gain a better understanding of what we're being told. And here you have to decide what is the best way for you to understand somebody else. So you could say, could you please repeat that? Could you please say it again? These two are the same, slightly different ways to say the same thing. Okay, and could you repeat that? Could you please say it again? The person will just say exactly the same words to you, probably at exactly the same speed. Okay, you might say, could you please speak more slowly? The person then may repeat themselves like this, slower and clearer. Could you please explain it in a different way? So this will require the person to use different words, a different way to explain. So different vocabulary, synonyms. Yeah, they might have used a word that you don't understand in an explanation or something they said to you. They might have to say the same thing using a synonym that you do understand. Okay, and finally, could you please write it down? Yeah, some people can understand things easier if they see it written down. Yeah, okay. So you have to decide, okay, what is the best strategy or the best method for you guys to help you understand? Asking them to repeat it, asking them to speak slower, asking them to use different vocabulary, or asking them to write it down for you. That's step 2. Let's move on to step 3. Okay, so step 3 in our strategy is to ask clarifying questions. So if you remember step 1, we communicated a lack of understanding. In step 2, we asked for more information. Now, step 3, we're going to ask clarifying questions. Okay, so we are trying to demonstrate through a clarifying question that we now understand more than we did before. So here are some very, very simple questions that you can use to clarify meaning. What exactly, okay, would be how we start. What exactly do you want me to do? What exactly does that mean? What exactly? Okay, so using what exactly to ask a clarifying question is a great way to get more precise information from the people you're speaking to. You might also say, well, do you mean? Yeah, so you're actually giving them, with this phrase, do you mean, you actually give them another word, perhaps, a synonym, which allows you to demonstrate your understanding. So, do you mean you want me to do this? Do you mean we have to do this today? Yeah? Okay, here's my favourite. How come? How come? Just that simple phrase, how come? Now, this means why. Yeah? This phrase, how come, just means why. This is a very natural phrase to use when you want to ask the question, why? How come? You want me to do it today? How come? Yeah? Okay, so step 3 is we ask some clarifying questions. What exactly do you want me to do? Do you mean today? Okay, how come? Why? Our final step, step 4, is where we confirm what we now understand. So if you remember, step 1, we had to communicate that we didn't understand. Step 2 requires us to ask for more information. Step 3 requires us to ask a clarifying question. And now, in our final step, we're going to confirm our new understanding. And there are some very interesting phrases that we can use, some very simple phrases, easy for you guys to use and learn. Simply, you can say, so you mean you want me to do it today. Another one, another very useful phrase, so what you're saying is. Again, this is a very natural way to say what you're saying is this. Or you might just simply add, okay, I think I understand. Yeah, I think I understand. Yeah. So you can use these two top phrases here to add more information. So what you mean is this. So what you're saying is this. Or you can simply just say, yeah, I think I understand. So just to recap our strategy on how to become a better listener. Number 1, communicate. Communicate that you do not understand. Don't be afraid to let people know that you need a little bit of help. Step number 2 is make sure you ask the person or the people to repeat themselves, to speak slower, or to write it down. Yeah? Choose whichever is the best option for you to help you understand. Step 3 is ask a clarifying question. This helps you to understand, and it helps to communicate to the other person that you think you understand. And then the final step is confirm your understanding. So you mean you want me to do this? Excellent. Okay, so this is a very, very simple strategy on how to be a better listener in almost any situation where you have to use your English language skills to listen. So this could be in a conference call, in a meeting, or just chatting with your teacher. Yeah? Use this strategy, use some of the phrases that I've given you today, and become a better listener.